3, 2, 1.
A good night of Shabbos. Remember the scene. The purifying rays of the Yom Kippur sun are setting. Ne'ilah has been recited. Everyone standing in their kittel, doimim kemalachim, comparable to an angel, has just spent 26 hours in the most rarefied, spiritual, lofty atmosphere. From the bottom of your heart, you just cried out, Shema Yisrael, Baruch Shem, Hashemu Elikim. The shofar is sounded, and now immediately we begin to recite the Ma'ariv, the evening prayer. How does Ma'ariv Mitzvah Yom Kippur start? The Chazan begins to recite the words, V'rachum yechaper ovain v'lo yashlis, v'hir b'al hashiv ha'poy v'yachamosik. May he who is merciful forgive iniquity and destroy not. Then you continue with the Shemona Esrei, the silent Amida of Ma'ariv, and you beseech heaven, Slachlanu Avinu Kichatonu. We ask for forgiveness, for atonement, for all our sins. And the glaring question which many ask is, you've just had a whole day of atonement. Your slate has been cleaned. You're a perfect person. All your averas have been erased. What possible sins could you possibly have committed in the few seconds between the end of the sounding of the shofar and the beginning of the Ma'ariv prayer? And amongst the numerous answers that are offered, the most famous is that of the first Ger Rebbe, the Chidush Harim, who said that a Jew has to have emunah shlema, has to have perfect faith that Yom Kippur atones. And if somewhere deep in the inner recesses of his soul, he harbors a suffix or a svek, some kind of doubt, was Yom Kippur effective for me in erasing my past, in being able to start again? That is a grievous sin. And for that, the Jew cries out after the entire avodah of Yom Kippur, V'rachum yechaper ovain slachlonu avinu kichatonu. And in fact, the lashon of the Rambam, brought in the Ramah and Tafri Zayin, is that Yom Kippur cannot be effective if anyone doubts the effectiveness, the purifying powers of God's outstretched hand. And this applies not only on Yom Kippur, but it applies to every Yom Tif. In the 3rd chapter of Pirkei Avos, there's a famous Mishnah, where it says, amongst other things, V'hamavaza es hamoyedis, a person who disparages the festivals, although he may be a great scholar, a man of great deeds, nevertheless he forfeits his portion in the world to come. And the Ger Rebbe, the Me'emes, notes, we're not talking about a person who decides to play golf on Shavuos. He's not a mechalel es hamoydes. He's not a desecrator of Yom Tif. He's a mevaza es hamoydes. Mevaza means he scorns. He doesn't give the right respect to Yom Tif. What does it mean? We find the pasuk, a verse in the beginning of Samuel, where vayevazehu, people scorned the Shol HaMelech, saying, Ma yoshi'enu zeh, how could he be effective? How could he contribute and do something for us? Says the Ger Rebbe, even if a person scorns the Yom Tif, not because he lacks faith in the powers of the Yom Tif, but he's a very spiritual person, and he's humble, and he doubts his own ability to gain something, to be moved for Yom Tif. He has no faith in the Yom Tif, then Yom Tif indeed is not effective. And it's pointed out, there's a famous verse in Isaiah which says, V'hoya emunas itecha chusin yeshuas. And tzaddikim interpreted that a person has to have emunas itecha, faith and trust in the power and the efficacy of itecha, of Yom Tovim, of holy days. And that is our chusin yeshuas, that's the strength of our salvation. But a person is mevaza the moyed, he doesn't appreciate the power of the Yom Tif. It's like the Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos that King David was punished because he saw his father-in-law, the king Saul, sleeping, and he wanted to give him a sign that he was here and he didn't harm him. He cut off a corner of his garments. So the Gemara says, if you're mevaza begodim, you disgrace, you don't treat clothing with the respect it deserves. David HaMelech was punished that later in life, HaMelech David Zokin Baba Yomim, in his elderly days, clothes didn't warm him. He was perpetually cold. That clothes offer protection and warmth is not something supernatural. It's a tiviistic, natural effect of wearing clothes. Yet nature was not affected because you didn't appreciate the powers of clothes. Likewise, Yontif is not effective. You don't appreciate the powers of Yontif. Say Tzadikim. We've just went through last Shabbos. We were celebrating Shavuos, which is the marriage of God and the Jewish people, the marriage of the Jew and the Torah. And a person could say, perhaps, in his humility, I went through this whole 49-day process of Sfiras Omer, of 3 days of Hagbolah, of Shavuos. And I know that it says in the Sfarim that Shavuos atones and Shavuos endows us with the greatest blessings. But I wasn't prepared, I wasn't ready, and I don't feel that Shavuos has affected me in the least. Nonetheless, therefore, Tzadikim said the famous Yiddish expression, which only makes sense in Yiddish actually, Shabbos noch Yontif is noch Yontif. The Shabbos after a Yontif, after a festival, is still a festival. Or as a great rabbi once put it, the Slonim Rebbe, the Beis Avram, remember the story of the 7th of Pesach, Shvi Shel Pesach, we celebrate? That was when the sea split and the 600,000 Jews crossed the sea, and later their Egyptian pursuers drowned in those same waters. But Chazal tell us there were 2 Jews who did not join the Exodus under the leadership of Moshe. Their name were Das and Vavir, perpetual troublemakers. They were on Pharaoh's side, and they joined Pharaoh's camp in pursuing the Jews. And when they saw the Egyptians going down to their watery grave, they said, okay, we'll join the Jewish people. But they were on the wrong side of the sea. And Chazal said God made the same miracle of Kriyas Yamsuf with all the miracles and all the wonders for those 2 wayward Jews. Says the Slonim Rebbe, the same exact thing happens on Shavuos. If a person's a Johnny come lately, and he didn't hear the koilos of Rakim, the thunder and lightning of Sinai, if Shavuos Taka, he wasn't there spiritually, emotionally, the Shabbos nach Shavuos, the Shabbos after Shavuos, you could still tap into the blessings of Torah. And perhaps that's why in this week's Parsha, Parshas Naso, which comes from the same root word as marriage, Nisuin, we read the priestly brachas, Yivarecha Hashem Yishmerecha. And the Gemara says in Yevamis, Kol Ashari B'li Isha, a person who's not married is lacking bracha, is lacking a choyma, a wall of protection, is lacking joy, is lacking Torah, is lacking simcha, and is lacking shalom. And these are all, says the Eilis Ephraim from the Kli Yakar, these are all the ingredients in the blessings of Birchas Kahanim. Yivarecha Hashem, may God bless you with bracha. V'yishmerecha, that's protection. God will shower you with Yar Hashem Panavelecha, with illumination, which is goodness, which is light, which is Torah. V'yichuneka, which is, as the Targum Yedid says, the deepest, most profound understandings of Torah. Yis Hashem Panav Elecha, God gives the Jew a smiling, happy, radiant countenance. And he gives us shalom. These are all that's achieved through marriage. And these are the blessings of Yivarecha. And now I understand why Yivarecha Hashem is Gimatria, same numerical value 278, as Isru Chag. Isru Chag means that after Yontif, one still has to be Tzugebun. You still have to attach yourself to the Kedusha of Yontif. And even if you weren't ready at the time, this Shabbos you could tap into these blessings. Which is why the Kajigla of Rav beautifully explains, we know on the penultimate Shabbos prior to Chag HaShavuos, we read the terrible teicha, the curses, all of the suffering in Parshas Bechul Koisei. Why then? Just like the penultimate Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, Parshas Kisovei. So Chazal have an expression, Tich l'shana v'kiliseo, Tach l'shana b'rchiseo. May the past year and all those curses be done away with, be in the past. May a new year start with his blessings. So the reading of Parshas Bechul Koisei is the Tich l'shana v'kiliseo, getting rid of the past. When is Tachel Shana B'Chisel? When is the new year with its blessings? Parshas Naso, when we read about Hashem's blessings. Which is just like when you get married, You don't just get married and next day you're back to work. You have Sheva brachas. You have 7 days of rejoicing. Each day 7 blessings. Likewise, we have the blessings of the Birchas Kohanim in the days immediately after Shavuos. How do we tap? Otherwise, you just have a great experience on Shavuos, perhaps, and then it dissipates. You remember all the verse. You all remember the verse. Omar Oyev Erdef Hasiga Chalek Shol. The enemy, the ultimate enemy, is the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, and he's going to pursue the Jew. Achalek Shalol. I'll divide the spoils. Shalol stands for the words Shuvu lachem la'alechem. When will I get you? You can have your lofty, exalted, rarefied experience on Yom Tov, but I'll get you when you return back home, when you go back into the ordinary. Zurich to the Welt, zurich to the Geld. Therefore, on Torah we say, Botach bole baila de'shchel. Torah protects us. Vishala lo yachzor. Even after we go home, we're able to tap into these gewaldige blessings. And it's interesting, every day, when we thank Hashem for giving us the Torah, we have to engage in some even symbolic Torah study. Something of the written word and something of the oral Torah. What psukim of the entire thousands of psukim in the Torah did the Jews choose? It's not a rabbinical enactment. It's Nohagu Ha'omer, the Rambam says. The people instituted this custom. And Tosfos says so is the minhag Sephardim of Ashkenazic Jews. We read the 3 blessings of Birchos Kohanim. In fact, it's just interesting how many letters are there in Birchos Kohanim? Exactly 60, which correspond to the 60 Masechtas in Shas, which is the final bracha, Sheva brachas, Mesameach Choson im Hakala. May the Choson, the groom, rejoice with the bride. Hakala is a kala, Hakala. Hakala has a numerical value of 60. That a Jew rejoices in Torah. By the way, just parenthetically, the Rekeach brings how exactly to work it out. I leave it to your genius. But if you take the brachas, Yivarech Hashem Yishmerecha, all the words until the word Shalom, it's precisely the gematria of the words Zroyim, Moyed, Noshim, Yeshuas, Kachim, V'taris. Brachas are found in Torah. May the Eibishter help V'shalom lo yechzor. Even as we descend from Mount Sinai into everyday life, we're all surrounded with Yivarecha Hashem Yishmerecha, with Hashem's blessings, His protection. All of us should be gesund. All of us should tap into His blessings of Bonne, Chayu, Mezoina, and all that we need, both physically, spiritually, and emotionally, be granted. And all of us be given the ultimate bracha, v'yasim v'chashalom. May humanity all be blessed with peace. B'bias Mashiach Tzidkeinu. Amen v'amen.